What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the BaseLINE podcast. I'm your host, Ben Newman. And guys, we are bringing you another great episode today. Now, this man was one of my baseball coaches for 10 plus years over at Elite Baseball and Softball Training. And with that being said, please welcome my special guest, Coach Bryan Baar. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, Ben. It's great to see you. It's great to spend some time with you.
Yeah, you too. Before we get started, I gotta hear it, Coach. I gotta hear it.
Newman! What's up, Newman? Oh, that was a classic call, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Now, Coach, baseball has been a part of your life for a very long time, but what made you fall in love with the sport?
I think really when I got the opportunity to play professionally and grinding it out, not only for myself, but for an organization, and understanding the ups and the downs and the hard times and the good times. I mean, I fell in love with it. And before that, I can't say that I always did. And then, when I got to play professionally, it really just got in my blood, got deep in my blood. And I so love the game for the game, and the competition and the ability to hang out with other dudes and just be on the field in front of a lot of people and perform. I enjoyed it, and it stuck with me. So
now, who were some of your favorite players growing up or even currently playing?
Growing up, Kurt Gibson, Lance Parrish. I actually got to spend some time in spring training with Lance Parrish one year. He was a free agent invitee with the Dodgers, and I was in minor league camp, and he was actually in minor league camp with us for a little bit. And then he actually visited the Elite building several years ago when he was coaching for the Whitecaps. They had indoor practice there, and I got to reminisce with him a little bit. He didn't remember me. I was a minor leaguer at the time, and he was a multi-year big leaguer, and it was at the end of his career that was just trying to hang on for a few more years. So Lance, Gibby. I mean, today, I was a big Jim Thome fan until I played against him. Big Pedro Martinez fan, played with Pedro. Ichiro, just loved how he played the game. Jeter, so obviously those are all amazing players. I had, a few guys that I played with that got a cup of coffee in the big leagues, that I enjoyed too. But the big names were those guys, and guys I just had a lot of appreciation for because they were tremendously talented. But the thing they all had in common was they loved the game. And that was a trait for almost every guy that ends up being a Hall of Famer. They're tremendously talented, but they love the game, and they're able to stay healthy. And it's a lot of respect for those guys.
Coach, obviously, growing up, you were very skilled at baseball. I mean, you had a successful career at Jenison, went on to play at Western Michigan. Not many people can really say that they get the chance to play on a D1 team. How does it feel to be able to get that opportunity out of high school to play for Western Michigan?
Well, a story that most people don't know is I wasn't committed to play anywhere after I graduated in 1986. And I was going to be the typical West Michigan guy that went to Calvin College or Hope College or Aquinas College and played basketball and baseball, because basketball was actually my best sport in high school. But I also realized that I was a pretty good baseball player, and I played on a pretty good summer team, and was kind of holding out for an opportunity. And literally in the middle of July, I got an opportunity from Coach Decker to play at Western. I was a preferred walk-on, so there was no money involved, but it was a spot on the team. And I was just very, very thankful that he gave me that opportunity. And I didn't play much my freshman year. I think I had 39 at-bats. And by my sophomore year, I was playing all the time. In my junior year, I was the main catcher. But yeah, I was thankful that Coach stepped in and gave me a late opportunity that changed my life, to be honest with you, because I really don't know if I would have been involved in baseball if I would have got an opportunity to play professionally, if I would have played at a smaller school, because most of those guys don't. And so, I was very, very thankful to him that he saw something in me that very few other people did, and gave me a chance. So I was thankful.
Absolutely. Now, Coach, you mentioned it a little bit, but following your time at Western, you actually did get drafted to the Dodgers organization. It's honestly a dream that very few people can really say that they've been able to experience. But what was it like to really get that call and have the Dodgers let you know that you're going to be on their team?
Thrilled. I mean, I went into my junior year at Western, knowing and kind of expecting that I was going to get an opportunity. Didn't play real well, to be honest with you. Played well enough at the end to still get drafted in a decent round. Not as high as I was projected to go, but I didn't perform well my junior year. But to get the opportunity by a storied organization was thrilling for me. And I remember getting on that plane, going, boy, I got a chance to play at Division I school. Now I'm getting a chance to play professionally. Am I good enough? And you go down, there's 65 guys there that just got drafted, and I found out right away that I was able to compete with them guys and play well and do well, and so it was thrilling. I mean, getting on that plane was nerve wracking. It's a whole new experience. But thrilling. One of the best feelings I've ever had.
Going back to your college career, how do you think your time at Western really helped you get put into a position to get drafted?
Well, it's like I said earlier, Coach Decker, gave me an opportunity, and he saw something in me that not everybody else did, and not even myself. And he ended up being like a father figure to me, and that somebody that really believed in me, spoke into me a lot, gave me a lot of confidence. I always knew I was a pretty good athlete, and I was fairly talented, but you never know how you're going to fit, because my freshman fall season, I didn't have a hit. I didn't have one hit. And so, I was questioning if I was good enough, and he always just encouraged me to, stay with it, stick with it, and do the work. And so I did, and I earned my way into that. So, I mean, it grew me. My dog's in the background, I'm sorry. It grew me, there not only as a person, but as an athlete. And I was thankful for that.
Obviously, while your career probably didn't go as well as you probably had hoped, you still were able to play 4 years within the Dodgers system. What is it really like to be able to play for a professional team?
It's honoring. I was honored to get the opportunity, and did my career turn out the way I had hoped? No. I mean, when you get drafted, I think everybody has the ideal that they're going to play in the big leagues, that they're going to get to play in front of 50,000 people, that they're going to be an all-star. They're going to be, you know what I mean? And it didn't happen, but it prepared me for a lot of life things. And I was thankful for that. And, but, my career, the first 3 years certainly went the way I had hoped they would. I climbed up the ladder. Then my fourth year, everything kind of fell apart. And there's learning opportunities, and when you're doing well, and there's a lot more learning opportunities when you're not doing well. And so I think, getting the opportunity to be able to perform as a professional athlete, it was honoring. I was just honored to be able to do that, and thankful that I got to do something that a very, very small percentage of people get to do. At the end of the day, I'm still a normal dude. It's like a lot of people, at times they put you on a pedestal because you're a professional athlete. And it's like, no, at the end of the day, I'm still a normal guy, just like you. I still had to get a job after I played. I still had to raise a family. I still, take care of my wife. And, but that experience gave me some things that a lot of people don't get to experience. And I was thankful for that. And, but at the end of the day, I'm just still a normal guy like everybody else. It just happened to play baseball. So
After your pro career, you co-founded Elite in 1995 with Coach Mike Paul. Was coaching and training something that you ever saw yourself doing?
no, because when I actually was done playing baseball for about a year, I wanted nothing to do with it, even though I loved the game. I just wanted nothing to do with it. And But I had this thing in me that still had a love for the game, and I had some people ask me to start training their sons, and it just kind of evolved. And then I realized how much I really loved giving back to the game and sowing into young men like you and many other kids that I trained. But I just enjoyed the time that I got with, like I said, guys like you in the cage, and we got to work on the game. We got to talk about life, and we got to we got to grow. And so I didn't think I would ever do this. I mean, I thought I'd be an accountant and a finance guy that sat behind a desk, like actually both of my boys do now. But I'm thankful. I've been in baseball pretty much my whole life. And I said to my wife the other day, I'm like, boy, I'm pretty blessed that I created something and got to do something that is in something I love, and I got paid to do it, and I've done well at it. And I'm just thankful, because I do love the game, and I do cherish the time that I get in the cages with you guys, and it's I just love it. I fell in love with it. I really enjoy that time.
Absolutely. I mean, it's something that has been appreciated by so many people in the West Michigan area. I know I have. And you've been able to really help countless amount of athletes, including myself, really improve in the game of baseball. What do you think makes elites training so special and so successful when it comes to the progress of athletes?
I think because at the end of the day, we cared about every individual. It didn't matter your talent level. We took every player and treated them the same. Whether you were tremendously talented or you were marginally talented, we treated every player the same, and we gave every player the same effort day in and day out. And I think that's been the biggest thing is we cared about every single player that came in that door. And Mike and I, when we started, working together and doing this together, that was always one thing that we promised each other, that we would care for every kid, every young man, every young woman that came through that door. We would give them our best. And I really believe that we did that, and I'm proud of that. And it's been good. So
Now, with you and Coach Paul, how did you guys decide that this is what you guys want to do? You want to create a training facility for baseball and softball players?
Well, I kind of just had the passion to start training and doing things. And Mike was in the game for a long time, just working with guys. He was very good at it. He was kind of, even 30 years ago, he was known as a guy that was one of the few people in the area that were very, very good at training pitchers. We just kind of connected because we both played for the same summer coach. Not together. Mike was a little bit older than me, but we played for the same guy, and we had that mutual bond of playing for the Grand Rapids A's and John Anderson. And then we just kind of connected because I was training guys, he was training guys, and he had a skill that I didn't have because I didn't like training pitchers. I liked hitters and catchers. And so we just connected one day and said, hey, let's do this together because there's some synergy between us. We both have the same passion, the same desire, and I was thankful that we were able to work together because I really thought we brought a pretty good package of knowledge but mostly desire to change lives. It's not all. I knew from playing that I got to play professionally. I didn't make a ton of money playing. I had to come back and figure out life. And both Mike and I, it's really important to both of us that we would not only work to make our players better, but also to make them better young men and women. So when they did have to step into post, school life, that they were prepared and that they were ready for real life. Playing baseball for a living is like a fantasy for a while because, it's like you live in a world that there's a lot of money, there's a lot of fame, there's a lot of attention. And then when you get outside of that, and it's very, very different. And people that have been in both understand what I'm talking about, and people that haven't been able to play professionally don't understand it. But it's not even real because of a lot of the money floating around and the ability to do things that most normal people can't do.
When I first came to Elite, I was not a good player, but I think you believed in me more than most people ever did. But in your opinion, what qualities make for a coachable player?
Well, I think, you possessed all of them. You came in the door um, with a desire to work, and you were never afraid of that. And the very best players that I've ever had, whether they were tremendously talented or marginally talented, were guys that were willing to come in the door and work their butt off, regardless of how hard it was, regardless of how uh, um, challenging it was to make changes. Um, the guys that had the most success were the guys that were willing to come in and just do work, and they didn't question it. And you were one of those guys. I mean, you came in and worked, and there were times it was hard, right? I mean, you can remember it was hard, and but we never quit, and you never quit. And that was the thing that I always loved about you, is you never quit. And you just came in and you worked and you worked and you worked. And I really believe that helped shape you for today. And then I see what you're doing now, and I smile because I know that you're doing something you love. And I like to think that maybe I had a little bit to do with that, of kind of getting you out of your box of, that super duper shy guy that walked in the door, kind of questioning, should I really be here? I remember, and you came in and your dad brought you in and said, I want you to work with my son. And you came in, and you just went to work, and you never, I mean, I can say this because I watched you do the CST program and how difficult that is. You never once complained. You just came in and did the work. And I knew that there would be a point that, that would change for you and allow you to just to breathe confidence in you. And I saw that change over time. And it was fun to watch. And it was fun to experience that with you and watch you grow as a young man and even as a player, because you did improve tremendously. So it's good.
Now, almost 2 years ago, you and Mike decided to sell Elite. What do you think led to that decision?
Almost 3 years ago, I was having some shoulder issues. I had sought an opinion. I needed a surgery. So it kind of took me out of the training aspect of it for 2 months. During that time, we were working on some business things that needed some attention, and I just kind of felt for myself personally, it was a time for me to say, you know what, I think this is a good time for me to step away. And I had actually talked to my partners about stepping away, and we were working on that agreement. And then somebody stepped in and was interested in buying us all out. And so that kind of started that process of, hey, it's not just Bryan, now it's going to be all four of you. And it was because Jim and Michelle were also minority partners at the time, but Mike and I were the majority. And so we walked down the path of selling the whole business. And I, at that time, I walked away from the business, where Jim, Mike, and Michelle all stayed on as employees. And then Mike stepped away a year later. But it was the right timing for me. Just where I was at in life. And it was an opportunity for me to do some different things that I wanted to do, and that my wife and I are involved in, and that we're passionate about. So it was a good opportunity. It was one of those opportunities that come along, you're like, I can't really turn this down because it's good for me and it's good for my life path, and it was a win. So.
Now, in 2013, you were hired to become the manager of the Myers Sports Complex in Rockford, which has really become a hub for travel baseball. Walk me through your day-to-day life working as a manager for the complex.
Well, I manage the complex. So, I mean, my responsibility is to oversee everything that goes on there. The grounds crew, which I have a manager for. We have a concession crew, which I have a manager for. My job is to make sure we have events to fill the facility. So I usually spend the off season, working with our partners, planning out the weekends that they have already booked and contracted for. During our season, like right now, connecting with my concession manager daily, my grounds manager daily on where we're at. Mainly a lot of financial stuff, making sure we're meeting our numbers, making sure we're staffed properly with my two managers, and then just communicating with our partners to make sure that what's coming up for the weekend, how did the weekend just go? It's busy, and this past weekend, I am up there on the weekends when we have weekend events. I usually am up there for a few hours. Saturday, I was up there for 10, because we had a rain event, we had a lot going on, and I needed to be there. And then during the week, catching up on the weekend, and then making sure our weekday stuff is handled and managed. And, so it's kind of something that doesn't always turn off. I'm not always there, but I'm always connected. In some ways, it's a lot like Elite was for a while, when you're in charge and, everybody wants a piece of you all the time. And whether it's at 7 a.m. or 10 o'clock at night, so it's busy in a different way. It does give me freedom to be able to work from home and do a lot of that. So I spend a lot of my time working out of my home office. And so it's communication. It's all communication that I do, making sure that everything's going well. So.
Coach, why do you think that travel baseball is so important to a young baseball player's career?
I think today, it gives them the opportunity to get ahead from a playing standpoint, get experience, get reps. I personally think kids are starting too young. I personally think kids are playing too much. It does develop them from a playing standpoint, prepare them as they get into high school. They're so seasoned now compared to when I was playing. And so, they're light years. My boys played hundreds of games before they got to high school, where I maybe played 100, and they played hundreds. So, it prepares you from a skill standpoint, certainly. It prepares you from a mental standpoint, but on the same token, there's the kind of what's happening is these kids don't get to be kids. And that's a little bit of my concern right now is kids don't get to be kids these days. They have to be involved in so many different things because they have to be good at it, and they have to be better than everybody else. Instead of allowing them just time to be kids and do normal things like this, doing things around the yard, hunting, fishing, doing things that are leisure sports instead of, sometimes I think these kids are forced to do so many things, and I built a business on that. So that was always a struggle as things grew, as we're creating this thing that I'm not certain I agreed with 100% because of what it was taken away. And so that was some of the other reason that when I had the opportunity to step away, it was the right time, because I was struggling with not necessarily how we were doing things at Elite, because I felt like we were managing that for our players and our coaches and had an expectation of not doing too much. But what was happening overall was, kids were playing 100 games a year, and then they're training year round, and then kids are getting hurt younger and younger and younger.
So yeah, I know exactly what you mean though, because there's a lot of things, especially growing up for me, that I had to do. I was in different sports, including baseball. I was in band. I didn't really have a lot of time for other activities outside of any of that, really.
I think though, what you were kind of well-rounded because you were involved in the band, you were involved in a sport, two completely different things. So you were fairly well-rounded. Where a lot of kids these days are just getting stuck with one sport, one thing, 6 days a week. They're either working on it or they're playing, and it's a little much in my opinion. And college recruiters are now looking for multi-sport athletes. They want kids that are well-rounded. They don't necessarily want the kid that's only been playing baseball for 8 years, because they want kids that have a different experience and a team aspect that builds into that, because it's been difficult for some kids to be able to adjust and even to maintain the discipline going forward, because there does come a point where you get mentally exhausted with it, and especially when you start so young.
Now, Coach, final question for you, but In your opinion, for anyone who has a dream of making it pro, what advice would you give to them?
That it's difficult to play professionally and that you just need to give your very best and let things land where they can land. I've trained kids all over the spectrum. I've trained kids that didn't make their high school team. I trained kids that didn't make the college team that they had hoped to make. I trained kids that have played professionally. Playing professionally is a less than 1% chance. And I, like I said earlier in our conversation, I was fortunate enough to play professionally. I didn't make a lot of money where I could just do what I wanted after I was done playing. I had to enter the workforce. I had to figure out life. I had to figure out how am I going to provide for my family. And so what I tell kids these days is you focus on being the very best player that you can be, but also you focus on when you're done with high school, you plan on going to college. Or if you want to go into a skilled trade, go into a skilled trade, but have a plan outside of your athletic endeavor, because the chances of you playing professionally are slim. Now, don't lose that dream. Don't lose that dream, but you still got to plan ahead for life, and go off to college. Some of my very most successful kids that I've trained were not my best and I'm talking about in life, were not my best athletes. They were kids that just came in and worked hard and prepared for school, prepared for college. Most of them went to smaller schools and just had great experiences playing, but they were preparing for life after that. And they have very successful careers these days. I even look at you and I look at you as you're doing what you love. You're doing something and you're creating something, which that's what I think is amazing is you're stepping out and doing, hey, I want to do this. I love it. And I'm going to take a shot at it. And that's what I hope to create in kids is that they chase their dream a little bit. And because it doesn't just have to be baseball. It doesn't have to be softball. It's like, what's passionate in you? And then you chase it and then see what you can do with it. And like I said, some of my most successful kids in life were not my best athletes. Some of my least successful kids in life were my best athletes. And they've had a hard time transitioning after baseball because they put everything into baseball and then all of a sudden it was over and they're stuck. And, it's like, what am I going to do? And I went through that period for a very short period of time, but I'm like, what am I going to do? And fortunately I had a wife that challenged me to just continue to move forward. She supported me and in allowing me to do something that I wanted to give a shot at in training athletes. And she wasn't completely 100% on board because she didn't know, because it wasn't the norm. And but she gave me the blessing to try it. I was thankful for that, and because it worked. But no, I want everybody to chase their dream, but you also have to have the plan Bs of okay, if this doesn't work out, what am I going to do next? Because like I said, I was one of the less than 1% that got to play professionally. I didn't make it, and I got to AAA. I made it one step before playing in the big leagues, and I didn't get to that point. So prepare. So
awesome. Well, Coach, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Benny, I will say this, and I say this from the bottom of my heart. You were my most favorite athlete I ever trained. Yes. And I say that from the bottom of my heart. I was very thankful that you walked in the doors. I was very thankful that I got to spend time with you and help shape you a little bit. And I say that with truth. I love you, and I always appreciated you. So,
well, thank you, Coach. I really appreciate that.
Yep. All right, man.
And one more time, I gotta hear it before you go.
Newman, what's up, Newman?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach.
All right, man. I love you. You have a good day.
But that's gonna wrap it up for us today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Coach Baar for coming in and talking about his career, his playing career, and his coaching career. He was one of the greatest coaches I have ever been coached by. So it was amazing to get him on and talk about his life and his career. Thank you guys so much for the support of this podcast. I really appreciate it, and I love the progress that we are making every single week. With that being said, guys, thank you so much again for tuning in. My name is BaseLINE Newman. You have been watching the BaseLINE podcast, and I'll catch you guys next time.